What's going on, guys? So this is the long-awaited part 3. It's finally here. Finally, I'm excited. This has been quite a trip since when I first started it. Well, since I last saw you guys actually in part 2. So part 3. In this one, we're going to be doing the headstock veneer, gluing the headstock veneer on the actual headstock. We'll be cutting and shaping around that, sanding it to the same shape that the veneer is to get the open book headstock. We'll be doing the grain filling on the back, which will also tint the back and sides, because my grain filler is tinted, so we'll be doing that. We'll be sanding that off. We're going to be cleaning the binding before we do that, and also taping it off just to make sure we don't get anything on the surface of the flame top. Also, where the body meets the neck joint, we're going to be doing just a little bit of wood filling with natural wood filler, just because there's a little bit of a hairline seam there, and I really want that to be a solid transition, completely flat. So when we paint it, there's not going to be any gaps or areas where it has to fill up or anything like that. So yeah, and then also just a little bit of an update on the flame top. I just tweaked it just a little tiny bit. Ended up adding some orange to it just to give it a little bit more of depth. I had a guy comment that said that the yellow was good, but it needed to be darker, and he was right. It kind of did need to be a little darker if I want to be closer to slashes. And I added orange, some dark orange to it, just on the top of it, and wow. I think it just looks awesome. So I'll show you guys all that, and without further ado, let's get to it.
So I got my veneer here, and I got this veneer off of eBay. I said in my last video, it was about I think 45 bucks. I got this veneer off of, and it fits our kit guitar pretty well. It's a little bit off, but we're gonna end up cutting around this. Obviously, cutting around this to get the headstock shape. But the first thing I need to do is, the way this veneer was made, it was made pretty much to the specs of a real authentic Gibson guitar. So it comes straight up to the very end here where the fretboard starts. So it covers up the nut, but it goes all the way just to the very tip. Just gives us just enough wood to actually shape. I got this nut from eBay. It's a Tusk Nut for a Gibson Les Paul. Really good nut. What I'm gonna do is I clamp this on here about where we need it. I'm gonna put the nut up just to the lip where this fretboard starts, and then I'm gonna take just a little pin, and I'm just gonna make a mark on this veneer here, on this cover, about right there. And I'm just going to make a little mark here with this pen. Gives us a little bit of a mark there, where we're going to end up actually putting the nut in. Then what we're going to do is we're going to actually put in the bone nut that we have. I'm actually going to install it. Like I said, I knocked out the plastic one that was in here, so it's got a little bit of super glue inside there. So I'm just going to take probably just 400 grit sandpaper, and I'm just gonna clean out. Alright, so just kind of knocking down any little pieces of super glue that might be sitting in there. And I am using some super glue gel, super glue in gel form. You don't need a lot. Maybe I put a lot, I don't know. It's about good right there. So just set that in there. Okay. So I'm just kind of sitting there. I'm just kind of pressing it on there. It's already super hardened into there. Okay, so we got the nut glued in there now. Super secure. Totally solid. I found the super glue gel stuff works awesome. So the next step that we will be doing is going ahead and cutting off the little bit of extra here. And like I said, when we cut it, if it's still a little bit too far this way, and we need to shave a little bit more off to go that way, we definitely can easily do that. So let's go cut this off. So what I'm doing here is I just made my line. I took my saw. I got this saw from Harbor Freight actually also. So it's very cheap. Everything I'm using is like super cheap. But I got the saw from them, and it's a real fine saw. it's for doing stuff like this. So I made the line, and what I like to do is, normally I'd be doing it the other way around so I could actually hold the whole thing with my hand, but I just kind of go real easy, and I just really get this started. I'd cut this at slightly, like just tilted just slightly that way, just so that we can kind of get a little angle on there, because we'll need one for the nut. But just cutting this, I do it flat. This thing works perfect for this type of stuff. And also, like when it came to the line, I cut on the line and a little bit this way, just to make sure that we had the room. We don't want to cut it too short. It's always best to take off more later if we need it by just putting it on some sandpaper or something. But we got the nut glued in, we got the headstock veneer shape just right. As you can see, it fits right, butted up close to the nut. And my favorite part, which is the gluing. I don't know why I get so excited when I glue things, but I just love it to death. And here we're going to use a really little amount of glue. Watch me use a lot just because I love gluing stuff. But really, we're going to use very little, because we don't want it pushing up. We don't have to get rid of all this extra stuff. I'm just going to use my finger to actually do this. Just kind of work it in. So, I'm going to put this on just like this. Pretty simple at this point. Pretty much just drop it on. Just like that. And once you get it close to where you want it, go ahead and I got a couple clamps here. I like to use the hand clamps for stuff like this, where you kind of have to hold it with one hand. All right. So we'll let that dry. I'm just gonna wipe off a little bit of this stuff on the side here. There we go. And yeah, I'll probably end up letting this sit for probably about 24 hours. It'll dry probably in about 6-7 hours, but just be safe. Let it sit for 24 hours before you pop the clamps on it. And then once it's dry, we'll be back, and we'll be back shaving. We're gonna be shaving we're actually gonna be shaping this against the veneer piece that we bought. So we got the headstock glued on there. I'm just taking a little bit of 220 grit, actually on this kind of round cylinder block that I have, rubber block, and just put it on there like that. And I'm just literally going on the very edges here. What's going on, guys? So here it is. Here's the body, and as you can see, it's quite I think it's just beautiful. It's definitely more orange now, and you can see the yellow underneath the stripe. So what I did was, I had a guy comment and say it was a little bit too yellow, and I kind of agree with him. I think it needed to be darker. So what I did was I really sanded it down. In hindsight, I don't know that I would have used the black. I don't think that is what I would stray away from the black. Okay, these have good enough flames without the black. I did put a link in the second video if you guys are looking for these kits that I actually used. They're very, very good kits. They have really nice flame in them. Obviously, you know, you kind of get what you pay for, but for what it is, I really want to do this nice for you guys so you could really see what you can do with a guitar kit for $150. It's kind of hard to see, but I mean, that flame is beautiful all the way across. So what I did was I just went ahead and sanded it back down to the yellow. I just sanded some of the yellow out, and I took this right here. I got this here. Let me see if you can see that. It's Color Tone liquid stains. It's orange. I got that from stumac.com. So I had the yellow to this. So then when I got the orange, and basically all I did was I just kind of rubbed the orange over top of this, and when I did, it just went poof and just really started to pop, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love that. So I kind of would seriously recommend, don't use the black ink, don't dye these things black, okay? The cut of grain that you're going to get on these kit guitars is just not going to work if you want to do it black. It's just not. It's going to be blotchy. They're not going to be good enough to call for that. Really, what I would do is use your colors to make the grain pop. Use the two colors that you're going to use, or the one color that you're going to use, and then sand that back down, and then put it on again, and really make that bring the grain out. You can see the yellow, or I mean the orange is really my stripes, and the yellow is really in between it. And I kind of just went back and forth. I put really light coats and really rubbed in yellow, and then really rubbed in some orange, and then once I got that all set, I went ahead and sealed the whole thing. Okay, I just got some standard Bell Hand vinyl sealer. It's basically just a lacquer sealer. I just put a nice light mist on it, couple mists on it, couple coats, just to really lock it in, because I thought once I got it, I thought it was just awesome. I did scrape the binding once I did that. Once you get it, just lock it in, okay? I was worried about me going over this like 15 times. I mean, I kept redoing it. So once you get it right, I think this is the way to do it. I would go ahead and I'd skip the black. I wouldn't even use it. I would put the yellow on there. I'd put the orange on there, and I'd sand the whole thing down a couple times with 400 grit. And I'd reapply the yellow, let it dry, take a little bit of orange in your paper or your rag, and just put it on there ever so gently. Once that dries, you're going to get something like this, and this looks beautiful. Clean off the binding, scrape the binding like I showed you, and then go ahead and just seal it, just to lock it in. Because as soon as you touch this with oils or anything else, it's going to change its color, it's going to get blotchy and dark and old greasy. You don't want none of that. So once you get it right, go ahead and seal it and just call it. I think this is awesome. This is exactly what I was going for. And yeah, I think it's a perfect color. I think it's a lot closer to Slash's, and if anything else, it may be even a little more unique. But definitely still in that flavor and that style. Definitely a lot closer to his real Gibson color. And if you saw it in the dark, you know, just a little bit less shadow on it, you can see there it gets quite dark. It really does. It gets almost a brownish color in the grain. So yeah, just want to show you guys that, give you a little update on what kind of went on with all that, why it's kind of a different color. But that's how you do it. That's how I'd recommend doing it. I really want to show you guys how you can actually make these really cool. So, all right, up next, I'm just gonna be doing a little bit of grain filling around the neck. So, we'll get to that. All right, guys. So, some of the first steps that we're gonna do before we actually end up filling the grain on the sides. One of the steps is just making sure there's no gaps. As you can see here, there's a little bit of a gap between the where the neck meets the body. It's just because it just wasn't cut very perfect, so it's totally fine. It's in there good. The neck is in there good. It's flush. It's flush here in the bottom. The back of it's completely flush. It's flush all the way here at the heel. It's just a gap where it just wasn't shaped very well here. So what I like to do before we end up filling is using this is just some wood filler, just Elmer's wood filler. Any kind of like natural wood filler will work, and the reason why I'm using natural is because our actual grain filler is tinted, so wood filler is also stainable, so it will stain the wood filler too, and it won't look as it just won't jump out as much as like an eyesore. So my grain filler is like a more natural color anyway, so it won't be too much of a contrast with this stuff. It'll be pretty close. And I just put a little bit in my hand and I just rub it in there. And you know, you don't really need a lot here. This stuff dries pretty quick. Once it kind of sets up like this, I'm just gonna, just like that, and I'm gonna let that dry. And yeah, we can go ahead and, if you have any other areas on the body, like I got another one here on this side, I'm gonna go ahead and fill this, and then we will start cleaning up the binding and get that ready for our grain fill. Okay, so the next thing that we have to do is I'm just gonna go ahead and clean this binding off again. I know I already did all this, but gotta do it again. So just I like to keep it clean. So while we're waiting for the neck seams to dry, put the wood filler in there. I found that I did scrape the top of it. The top of it's already fairly clean. The very top edge all the way around it, because I did throw a quick sealer on top of this. Like I said, if you don't, whenever you touch it, everything's gonna get on it. Right now, it's got a little light coat of vinyl sealer, so the top of it I did clean before I sealed it, so that's fine. But the edges here got a lot of orange on them from the stain. What I found works just so good for this is just a cheap Scotch-Brite pad. I got one here. It's not very coarse. I don't know the actual gauge on it, but it's not very coarse. And what I do is, you can see here there's a bunch of orange going all through there. Hopefully you can. I just take this right along here, push pretty evenly. Alright guys, so once we're done with all that, we got the joints nice and filled in, and they're looking pretty good. They look really good actually. Everything's nice and smooth, nice seamless line through everything. I'm just going ahead along the binding here, and I'm just taping the binding out because we're getting ready for grain filler. That's the next step. So I'm just kind of taking this in sections. Just got some automotive masking tape here, and just going right along the line of the binding as much as I can. And this stuff's pretty sweet. You can literally just pull it and just run it right around, and it'll stick. Just like that. And that's all I'm doing. I'm just doing that all the way around the binding, just to kind of act like a little bit of a barrier so that our grain filler doesn't get all up on the top of the body. It doesn't get all up on the binding we just cleaned. We're going to clean it again, obviously, but you know, if we can help it, we don't want to get the grain filler up there. That would just be all nasty and blotchy, and I'd have to clean this off real good. So that's all I'm doing. I'm just going to go around the binding like this. The binding on the body and just the binding on the neck. So I'm not going to do, like, obviously up here, this area of the binding, but just wherever the wood is going to get touched by the pore filler, because it does have a stain in it. That's where I'm going to basically be touching it off. So I will finish this up, and we will come back with the grain filler. Hey guys, real quick, I just wanted to show you. I just ran into this and I remembered I was going to tell you. When you do this binding here, these kick it like a real Les Paul. You see that maple little strip in between the binding and the mahogany, that little strip of maple, that's the actual carved top cap. Well, in a real Les Paul, that's going to be binding, so they'll actually make that binding. On these kit guitars, you're not going to get that. You're just going to get the same binding all the way around, and it's just going to be kind of an exposed cap there. So when you run this tape around, make sure you follow the binding. Don't keep running on the same line and just meet it back up over here. Make sure you come up all the way and just literally keep it right on the white binding, because our grain filler is going to grain fill that obviously and stain that as well. So it's going to stain that the same color as the mahogany, so it's just going to give it a little bit more of a true look instead of popping out so much. So it's just something that's going to happen with these kits, that they just don't do it like that. It's totally fine. Not a big deal at all. It still looks great, but just make sure you don't cover that up with the tape. You want to go ahead and run that on the top of the binding. Alright guys, so this is the last part. It's the grain filler. I went ahead and got all the binding taped off really nice, all around the body, all the way around the neck. There's the the headstock. You can't really see it, but I got that shape pretty good. Just did it by sandpaper. My camera really didn't take to me doing something happened. I filmed me doing the last little part of it, shaping the crown of it, and it didn't really take, so that's why that's not in there. But I basically just did it by hand, nothing special. I literally just did it with 400 grip. I did the same process that you saw in the earlier clips. So got that nice and shaped. I just did a little bit more. What you're gonna want to do is go ahead and sand your body to 220 grit. 220 grit's gonna make sure that the grain filler really gets in there good. And the grain filler I'm using is color tone rosewood, so it's like a reddish brown color. That focus there. So it's from stumac.com. I'll put all the links in the description, but it's just a water-based grain filler. It's the rosewood color from Color Tone. It's a good grain filler, and it's water-based, so we can use it, just mix it with water. So it says to do about 10 to 15%. But what I'm going to do is actually just take the whole thing out, because you can always just put this back in the Tupperware container once you're done. So, and I'm not really sure how much we're going to use. It tells you 10-15%, but it doesn't really tell you like what the ratio would be for a guitar, so I'm not really sure how much it's going to take. I'm sure not all of it, but I'm just going to scoop it in here. And you want to get some really warm water. And, okay, that's good. So I got it in this bowl. It's kind of like a clay almost. It's like a clayish pudding color texture. So I'm gonna put some water in it here. Not too much. Okay, so we got that mixed up. It's kind of this like kind of just soupy consistency. It's like a watered down pudding type consistency. It's still got some chunks in it, but that's okay. Now what we're gonna want to do is we're gonna want got a little bit on there. We're gonna want 2 different applicator towels. I just took one of my shop rags and just cut it in half, so I'd have 2. One to apply it with, as like an application pad, and the other one we want to dip it in some warm water when we're done, just to get the excess off. And I am gonna take my application pad and dip it in get it in here really good. I'm gonna go ahead and swirl it on here. And I got it on here pretty thick. Honestly, this could be a little bit thinner. That's okay. But you just want to do it in circles for right now, and just do it in circles and wipe it into the wood. Yeah, okay, so I'm really starting to realize here that this is very, very, very hard stuff. So it doesn't need to be that thick at all. That's okay. What I'll do is I'll use my other application pad and give this a little stir. Okay. Okay, note to self, you want it even thinner than that. We live and we learn, right? Okay, that's a lot better. Much better. It's okay. We're doing the back first because we really want to just take this one step at a time. We don't want to rush it. We don't want to do like, we don't want to do the whole guitar body first and then just move on to the neck. We really want to go in sections here. So I'm just kind of swirling this grain filler. And this is water-based stuff, guys, so it's really not a big deal. You mess it up, you put too much on there, it's too thick, don't worry about it. It's water-based. As soon as you get it wet with warm water, it's just going to get, it's just going to get loose again, so it's not a big deal. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to kind of turn my rag around, and I'm going to take just a little bit more warm water. I don't want it wet though, I'm just going to wring this out. And I am just going to gently take off any excess. That's perfect, exactly what I was looking for. So this will dry in about 10 minutes. You can actually sand this in about 10 minutes once it sets up, but not 24 hours before you actually end up spraying it with lacquer. So I'm gonna go ahead and let this dry for about 10 minutes, and we'll go ahead and move on to the sides. Okay, so now we're on to the sides. I just got my applicator pad. I got it a little too wet because I set it in there, but whatever. So pretty simple here. Just try not to get it on the you can get it on the tape, but just try not to get it over the tape if you can help it. Again though, that's why we sealed the top of it with sealer, because if we hadn't have done that, when this got on the top, we'd have to be sanding it back off, which would have ruined our finish and all sorts of stuff. So now we don't have to deal with that. And yeah. So if any of this gets on the top, it's not a big deal. All we gotta do is literally wipe it off. All right. So as you can see, it's pretty thick like mud right now on there. It's just because I got it thick on this rag, but that's okay. I'm gonna go about halfway, round it over the edge, make sure it's on the edge, and then put that back in there. I'll take my rag that I got here. I'm gonna give this about 3 or 4 minutes just to kind of tack up a little bit, and then I will go ahead and start wiping this off. It's perfect. Once it starts turning cloudy, that's kind of when you want to go ahead and give it a rub with the other rag you have. Get on the corner there. Do it all. You'll feel it. Not only is this wiping off the excess, it's actually pushing a lot of it into the grain as well. Alright, so there you go. There's the side. There's the back. The back looks fantastic. Again, guys, like I just use the rosewood one. If you want to use the red one, Slash's actual guitar is more of a reddish hue to it. It's got the red tint in the grain filler. I just wanted to use the natural just because I like natural. Because when it's cleared and with the flame top, I don't know, I just think it looks cool. I think it's a cool color scheme. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the neck now. It's pretty much just the same old process. You're gonna get your hands dirty doing this. Go ahead and get the heel really good. Another thing too is, and you know, I didn't even think about this, I don't know why, but this grain filler, this color tone grain filler from StuMac is actually also a wood filler, just like our wood putty that we used in the other segment when I was filling in the seams to the neck. That would have actually probably been better to use because it matches this exactly. As with the other stuff, it'll stain, but it won't really, you'll still see you'll see a little bit of the, you know, you can see it right there, you'll see it. But you could use this as a grain filler or actual like wood filler. You can fill holes, dings. I had a few of those I had to fill. So I probably could have used this. I would have gotten 2 of them though if I would have done that. But that would make this match perfectly. That would really be the better way to do it. So just a little heads up for you there. So I'm going to go ahead and let this kind of tack up and get cloudy, and then I will wipe it back off with my lukewarm water. Again, when you're wiping this off, you want to use a rag that's has lukewarm water, but you do not want to have it super wet. You want to wring the heck out of it because, well, basically you don't want to, you know, get it's water based, so as soon as you wipe it, if you got too much water in your rag, you're just going to wipe the grain, you're going to wipe the filler right back out of the pores, so you don't want to do that, which is also why I'm waiting until it's kind of cloudy so it kind of sets in a little bit so we don't have as much to sand. I just wanted to show you guys something real quick. Right here in these seams here, all I did is to get it completely uniform without the little line there, because it really didn't stain it as well as I wanted it to. Without the little line there, what I did is I just took a little bit of my finger, because it's kind of like putty. It really tacks up pretty quickly, and I just went right along the seam like that. And I'm just going to go ahead and let that dry, sand it off. It's going to be awesome. Same thing on the back seam, you know, right down there in the middle. You can just kind of run it right along there like that. Not really worry about it too bad. Alright guys, so here's the body. I let it dry for about an hour. put that up there. So yeah, it kind of just has this, kind of, faded, cloudy kind of look to it once it dries. Got that sealed really nice. That joint's gonna look really good when I sand that all out, clean all this stuff up. You can see a couple areas where it's still drying, but for the most part, this is what you want. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let this sit for 24 hours. So probably about tomorrow night, I'll come back out here and I'm gonna sand the whole thing with 400 grit sandpaper. All the neck, all the joints, everything that there is. Then I'm gonna take the binding off, or then I'm gonna take the tape off the binding, and then I will clean the binding up, and I'll clean it up again, and then it will be ready for basically ready to get sealed. We're gonna seal the whole guitar like we sealed the top, like I sealed the top, and then we're gonna do we're gonna nitro lacquer the whole guitar and just go through the entire finishing process. So that will be part 4. And that will basically just be cleaning everything up, final preparations to get it ready for finish, and then the initial finish. So after that, pretty much it'll be down to getting the hardware on it, getting the hardware fitted on it, and getting it wired up. So yeah, that's that. So I really appreciate you guys for joining me. Thanks for all the support. The videos are doing really great. If you have any questions, go ahead and comment, and I'm sure somebody or myself will do the best we can to get to them. Like and subscribe, share if you guys feel so inclined, and I'll see you guys in part 4.